Hey guys, it's Hannah, and today I'm going to be doing a recommendations video for you guys. And today I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite plays. So as a lover of theater and an actress myself, I thought it would be cool if I did a recommendations video for you guys that talked about some of my favorite plays, some which I have actually been in myself and some which I have just read in my spare time. Now I have about 7 plays to recommend, and they're in no particular order at all, and they kind of spread across a wide range of genres. I have some comedy in here, some drama in here, some classics in here, some dark comedy, just a wide range of things. And I really just wanted to share some of these plays with you guys because they're really important to me. And personally, I think plays are a great source of reading material because they're so easy to get through, they're really fast-paced, and they're just lots of fun. Plus, a lot of the time they come with stage or movie adaptations, so it's always great to watch those after you've read the play. So now let's just get into the list of plays that I recommend. So the first play I'm going to recommend is quite a well-known one, and I feel like one that almost anyone who has gone through high school, at least here in the United States, has probably come across at one point or another, and that is Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. Now, I read Twelfth Night for the first time in my sophomore year of high school, and we had to read it for my English class and also act out one of the scenes, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Twelfth Night is a comedy about mostly mistaken identity. It also has one of the most famous examples of a classic love triangle. However, in this play, the love triangle is quite literally a love triangle, mostly because of the mistaken identity. So for those of you who may not know, Twelfth Night is about 2 twins named Viola and Sebastian, and at the very beginning of the play, they are in a shipwreck, and Viola lands on a shore of a beach, and she thinks that her brother Sebastian is dead, and she is in a new kingdom, so she decides to change her identity, and she becomes Cesario, who is a male, and she decides to go work for the court. And all of the drama kind of just takes on from there. Within the court, the love triangle unfolds, the mistaken identity finally becomes a problem, and there are a whole cast of characters in this book who are hilarious and drunk a lot of the time, and just really, really entertaining. Twelfth Night is a comedy, so it is quite a funny play, and I'd also say it's one of the more easy to understand pieces of Shakespeare's work. So if you are intimidated by reading Shakespeare, I highly recommend Twelfth Night because it is much simpler than some of his other work, and it's just lots and lots of fun. The next play I'm going to recommend is one that I actually read quite recently and mentioned in my August wrap-up, and that is Spring Awakening. Now, like I said, I just read Spring Awakening this past month and really, really enjoyed it. I have still yet to see the musical adaptation of this play, but I have heard from several people that it is just absolutely fantastic, so I can't wait until I get to that. Spring Awakening essentially is what the author calls it, a children's tragedy, which really just means it's a tragedy about children, not really one written for children. This play is definitely not a comedy, though it does have some comedic parts. I would call it a dark comedy, if not a drama, because it does deal with some very, very dark, intense issues. So I would say that this play has a trigger warning for rape and abuse and suicide. However, if you're comfortable with reading something that deals with those topics, I highly, highly recommend this play. The main story of Spring Awakening follows 3 children, Wendla, Moritz, and Melchior. I don't know if I'm pronouncing their names right. They're all German. I don't speak German, so I apologize. Correct me in the comments down below if I'm saying any of those wrong. But the story follows these 3 children, and it essentially just deals with them coming to terms with growing up and learning about sex and learning about themselves and their bodies and just human interaction, really. The main message of the story really revolves around the miseducation and suppression of teaching children about sex and how to deal with sex and how sex functions in our society and how it's taken advantage of when it's not taught to someone in the proper way. So like I said, this play really does deal with some dark issues. However, I would highly, highly recommend it because it's a really fast read and it's really thought-provoking, and I think it's something that everyone, of course, if they're comfortable with the topic, should read, because even though this play was written back in 1891, I think it's still very much relevant today and very much relevant to how our society, at least here in America, still deals with the topic of sex. So I think that it's just a really stimulating read, and I think that it's something that's just really important for us to talk about in our society today. The next play I'm going to recommend to you guys is actually the second play that I was ever in my entire life, and that is Funny Mirrors by David Lindsay-Abaire. Now, my sophomore year of high school was the first year that I really started getting into theater and drama. I joined my high school's drama class that year and auditioned for the fall play and then the spring play, which was Funny Mirrors. Now, Funny Mirrors is a very, very strange, complicated, convoluted, interesting play. I will say right off the bat, this play is probably not for everyone. It's weird. It's very, very weird, and that's the best way I can describe it. But personally, I love weird. Therefore, I love this play. This play is a dark comedy, so it does deal with some much darker themes, and it has lots of adult language. So if you're not comfortable with things like that, then I wouldn't really recommend reading this play. But if you are, then I highly, highly recommend it. Funny Mirrors is probably one of my all-time favorite plays that I've ever read and ever been in. It's absolutely hilarious. Like I said, it's a dark comedy, so it has its darker aspects, but it also has lots of really comedic aspects, and it's just so funny. The story follows the main character named Claire, who is a 40-year-old woman, and she is married and she has a son. And basically, every morning when Claire wakes up, she doesn't remember who she is, where she is, or anything about her life. What Claire has is called psychogenic amnesia. So every morning when she wakes up, she doesn't remember the previous day or any of the days prior to that. So the play really just follows one of Claire's days as she wakes up in the morning and her husband Richard tells her, like he does every day, that she has psychogenic amnesia, and then they just go about their daily lives. However, in this day, when Claire wakes up in the morning, right in the very beginning, someone comes into her room with a gun pointed at her and takes her hostage, and then her day just kind of goes on from there. The cast in this play is extremely small. I think there are only 6 or 7 characters total, but each one of them is so well developed and so absolutely funny. I adore it. I honestly think this play will stick with me, and being in this play was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I played Heidi, who is a cop who you meet later on in the play, and she is hysterical, and I love this play. I love this play so much. If I were to recommend any play off of this list as my number one, it would probably be this one, because it's just so clever and so well put together, and everything just wraps up in the end and ties together in such a witty way, and I love it. I loved it so much. So the next play I'm going to recommend is actually another classic, and that is The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. Now, I was just in this play last fall because my high school put it on, and it was so much fun. So like most of Oscar Wilde's other works, The Importance of Being Earnest is a satire on the British aristocracy of the 19th century, and it is such a funny play. Essentially, this story is another one of kind of mistaken identity. These two men named John and Algernon both assume the name of Earnest because the two people who they are interested in romantically say that they will only marry someone whose name is Earnest. And that's kind of how the story just unfolds, and it's so funny. If you know anything about Oscar Wilde, or if you've read any of his other work, I highly recommend checking this one out because the play is hysterical. And personally, I love satires. I love reading anything that's a satire, whether I agree with it or not, just because I like reading things from that point of view. Usually they're very clever and well put together, and that's definitely what The Importance of Being Earnest is. So if you are interested in anything along those lines, I highly recommend checking that one out. And in that production, I got to play Gwendolyn Fairfax, who is the love interest of John/Ernest, and it was so much fun. I loved it. I loved being an uppity British woman. It was so entertaining. The next play I'm going to recommend is another one of my all-time favorite plays, and that is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. So if you guys have read Hamlet, you will recognize the names Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, but if you have not, you probably think I'm speaking some other language because they're really weird names. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is written by Tom Stoppard, who took two of the minor characters in Hamlet and gave them their own story. So basically, he just tells the behind the scenes of what's going on in Hamlet from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's point of view. Now, if you've read Hamlet, you know that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern kind of play expendable roles within Hamlet. And in Tom Stoppard's play, he kind of takes the two characters and kind of shows how expendable they truly are. This play, I wouldn't say is a dark comedy. It's definitely comedic, but it definitely has some of those darker, more insightful, deep moments. There are some lines in this play that are some of my all-time favorite quotes. It's just, again, really witty, really insightful, and just so funny and so clever. And I highly, highly recommend checking this one out. But I do recommend reading Hamlet before reading Rosengil, because you kind of need the context of the two of them in Hamlet before you can fully understand and appreciate the beauty that is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. The next play I'm going to be recommending to you guys is actually a play that I co-directed with one of my best friends last spring at my high school, and that is A Devil Inside by David Lindsay-Abaire. Now, if you notice, this is the same author as the author of Fuddy Mears, but my friend and I both love Fuddy Mears so much that we wanted to do one of his other plays because we love his writing, we love his style, and we love the types of characters that he has. So we decided to look into some of the plays and we chose A Devil Inside, and from the minute that we read it, we were hooked. A Devil Inside is essentially a murder mystery, but again, it is a dark comedy. And the play really revolves around the story of Anna Karenina, which I have yet to read, so there are probably a lot of references in the play that I personally missed because I haven't read Anna Karenina. But at the same time, I don't think you need to read Anna Karenina to fully understand and appreciate this play. Because like I said, I hadn't read it, my friend hadn't read it, but we definitely understood the play and the message. Again, like Fuddy Mears, this one deals with some darker themes and has some adult language, so if you're not comfortable with those things, then I wouldn't recommend checking this one out. So this play revolves around a young boy named Gene, who on his 21st birthday, his mom surprises him by telling him that his father, who died 14 years ago of a supposed heart attack, didn't actually die of a heart attack, and he was murdered and his feet were chopped off. And then Gene's mother asks him to go on a mission to find his father's killer. And that's pretty much where the story just kind of takes off from. I highly, highly recommend this play, like I would with every David Lindsay-Abaire play that I have read, because his writing and his storytelling is just impeccable. It's so clever, and it's so funny, and all of his stories just tie in at the end so well. And I've never read any plays like his. I just adore his work, so I highly recommend checking him out. And finally, the last play I'm going to be recommending is actually a play that I just auditioned for and have yet to receive news on, so we'll find out about that hopefully soon. But the play is Almost Maine by John Cariani. At least I think that's how you say his name. Not 100% positive. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Almost Maine is kind of a collection of love stories that all take place in this fictional city, Almost Maine. And they all kind of connect in some sort of way. So if you've seen Love Actually, Almost Maine is essentially the play version of Love Actually. That's kind of what it is, and I love Love Actually, no pun intended. So when I first read the script for this play, I just fell in love with it because it's so adorable. It's so wonderful, and it takes place during the winter time, and I love winter time. And it's just so cute. In every single scene, the characters show up on stage wearing a bunch of coats and scarves and hats and gloves because it's so cold, and it's just so cute and so beautiful. This one I definitely will say is a comedy. Again, it occasionally does have some heavier themes. I wouldn't really say that they're too dark. It's a much lighter play, but there are some heavy moments in there, some more dramatic moments. It's, in my eyes, the play version of a light, fluffy contemporary, even though it has some of those heavier moments. So if you're in the mood for something kind of like that, then I highly recommend checking out this play because Almost Maine is just, it's beautiful. So, so beautiful. So there you go, guys. Those are some of my top play recommendations. I'm really glad I did this video. I feel like there aren't that many people here on BookTube that talk about plays that often, so I thought I'd contribute a little bit to that genre because it shouldn't stay neglected. It should be well loved because I definitely love it and I want some of you guys to love it. I hope some of you guys love it. And if you do, definitely let me know in the comments down below what some of your favorite plays are, and I will definitely check them out because I'm always looking for new plays to read and always looking for new ones to watch because I love theater, like I said, and it's just so important to me and such a big part of my life, and I always want to keep reading because I love them. I love plays. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. The two of them were just kind of awkward, but I think their awkward would work together. I don't know. I actually really like this one, so I'm gonna go with yes, Darcy and Luna. I like it. I like these two.